Hello everyone, my name is Vikas and in this session we'll talk about the next concept which is libraries in Solidity. So we already covered few concepts about Solidity like error handling, logging, inheritance, abstract contracts and many more other concepts which you can go over the old videos and you can just go over that one. And in case you have some doubt and some feedback you can just post in the comment section. So this video is talking about libraries, and we'll cover that what is libraries in the Solidity, and why it is used, and how it can be used, and what kind of syntax you have to use when you want to use these libraries. So, but before we jump to that one, we have to understand that why libraries are here in the Solidity language. So, library concept is not new. This we used to have in other languages as well. So the same thing which we have in Solidity, but how it look like and how it works in Solidity is not the same as we used to see on other languages. So we'll talk about that going forward in this session. But first of all, why libraries are needed in Solidity? So we generally, when we do some development, we generally see a requirement to reuse the piece of code. So you might see and you might have some requirement that you have a common functionality which has to be accessed in multiple contracts. So suppose you have 5 contracts and you have a piece of functionality which has to be there in all the contracts. So what you will do, the first option which you can do, you can take the same piece of code and add to all the 5 contracts, which is not the good practice because you're taking the same piece of code and unnecessarily you have to spend some gas on that part, right? Because whenever you deploy the contract on a blockchain, you have to spend some gas. So in case you add the functionality in the each contract, you have to spend 5 times the gas, right? Instead of 1 time. So this is the reason we used to have this functionality libraries, and libraries you can add the reusable piece of code in the library and then it can be called from the other smart contract which you have. So this is how libraries are being used. This is the reason we have libraries in the Solidity. So let's understand now what is library. So library is nothing, it's a type of contract only. So we already talked about in the previous video where we have mentioned that how you can call the function from one smart contract to another smart contract. And we have shown that you can create an instance of the smart contract inside the second smart contract and you can access the functions, right? And there are another way that you can pass the address, you can access the functions. So in case you haven't gone through that session, so you can just go over that session. So I will just share the link also in this video. So just go over that, then you have more understanding about how we can call the function between the smart contract. So library is nothing a type of a smart contract only, but the only difference here is that it does not have any storage. Like contract will always have a storage, but library don't have a storage, and these cannot hold the ethers like contracts. As we have talked about in the one more session, how we can send the ether to a smart contract. You can have a fallback function which is a payable, and then this is how you can send the ether to that smart contract using a fallback function. But here we're talking about that any library does not have any storage and this cannot hold any ether. This is contrast to the contracts which we have. So as I just mentioned, this is helpful when we want to reuse a code, a piece of code which can be reused across contracts. Then this library is very helpful, which will show in the hands-on session as well. So this does not have any payable function and fallback function. I just mentioned that this cannot hold ether. So this does not have any fallback function and you can't have any payable function on this libraries because this does not hold any ether. Okay, so library functions deployed only at one specific address. So what happened that whenever you deploy a library, as we just mentioned in the other sessions as well, whenever you deploy something on blockchain, it get deployed on some address. It will get some address assigned. So same thing happened with the library as well, but the difference here is that whenever any smart contract call any function in the library, that will be called in the context of calling function, calling contract, not in the context of library. So this is a difference when we call contract to contract and contract to library. So when you call contract A to contract B, whenever you make a call from contract A to contract B, so the context will change. from A to B when you make a call. But in this case, when you call library from a contract, so whatever function you will access in the library, it will be accessed or called in the context of calling contract, not in the library context. So this is what the library means in the smart contract, in the Solidity. And let's see that one example, how it look like. So you can just see this one. I have created one math library. So let's assume one example like the math function. So generally, if you used to have some Java or .NET, you used to have some inbuilt function for math, for string and everything. You need not to do something from your side. But that is not the case here with the Solidity. You don't have any inbuilt function or default function which you can use for math, strings, date time. But how this library can be helpful, you can add this function inside library, and this can be used as the default functions. So what I have tried to done here, I have created a library with the name math. I'm just trying to add one simple add function. So whenever anyone wants to add two values, they need to write the logic from their side. They can just use this library function and add the two numbers. Okay. So now how this can be used, you can see contract salary. So I have a salary contract where I want to add the bonus to my salary. So instead of adding this functionality, the additional functionality, which is very basic, but in the real time it will be very complex, not this much simple. So here you can see I'm getting the salary as an input plus bonus. So what I will do, I will call this library math library function, which is add, and that will take two as an input, two value as an input, and then it will add both the things. Okay, so this is how a library math function can be called from another smart contract. So we'll show you more in the hands-on session about how this works. And there is one more concept when we talk about library. There are two keywords, using and for. So what happens that you can attach a library function to any data type. Like whenever you use, you have different data type in the Solidity, like unsigned integer, string, bool, and other things. Right now, you can extend that function to include sub-function as well. Like what happens that, like here, you have a math library. It has add function, it can have a subtract function, division, multiplication, and so on. It can have many functions, right? So what you can do here, you can see the syntax here, using math for uint. You are using this math library and assigning this to the unsigned integer data type. So what it happened that whatever functions you have in this math library, that will be get accessible through this data type. You can just see here down below. Now you can access this add function using unsigned integer dot add, and you can pass the additional parameter here. So this is how you're doing. You are using this unsigned integer salary. You can call this function dot add, and you can pass the additional parameter like the bonus. And that will be same as the previous example which we have seen. So this is how this will be helpful when we go for these two keywords, using and for, and this makes your the developer life a bit easy when we use this library functions. So this is all we have in theory part. Let's jump to the hands-on. Let's see that one, how this library can be used, and what syntax you have to use to make this library working. So what we'll do, we'll just create one sample here. Let me give this name as libraries. Let me give the library sample. So as usual, we go with pragma. I will say solidity 0.4.20. In this one, we'll define now library. So library is always defined with the syntax library. You can define the name of library. Currently, I'm using a math here. So now I will create a function here which add two number. I would say first number or second number. What it will do, it will be public, and then it will be returning the unsigned integer again, right? So this way, what I will do, I will say return first plus second, these two value. Okay, add these two value and return it back. Okay, this is fine. Now same way you can add more than one function here. subtract. So this is just one example which I'm talking about here. So this is very basic, but you have to put some if condition that okay, that it should not be null. These two values should not be null, and in case you are subtracting, they should not greater than the first value, like this way. Okay, that's so that it should not go in minus. But I'm just trying to show you functionality. So I haven't put any if condition or required conditions here. But ideally, when you do the development in the real time, you will add all type of conditions here. So now I will use this math library function inside the contract. So I will define a contract here. I would say salary contract. So what I will do, I will just add it here. I will just add a function here, say salary with bonus. Okay, so in this one, I'm going to pass two values. One is salary, and the second thing is bonus. So, right. So what we'll do in this one, and let me make it public again, and this should return the total salary, right? So what we'll do here in this one, I'm going to call this add function, which is the math library. The one simple thing which you can do simply here, you can say math dot add, and you can pass the values here, salary, comma, and bonus. So this way you can pass these parameters here, and this is how you can invoke. Let me see, something is not correct here. Okay. So this is how you can call. So same way you can say another function you can call salary with deduction. So you have some sort of deduction in the salary. I will say salary with deduction. So in this one you will have a salary unsigned integer. It will have a salary as an input. You will have deduction as an input as well. Okay, so same way it will be public value, and it will say returns, and this is unsigned integer again. This will give me the return value as math.subtract now, and this should I just pass this value salary and deduction. So this is how I can call this one. Now let's go and test this one. So first of all, what I will do, I will deploy this math library first of all, and then I will deploy this salary. So now what happened that when I will pass salary, I'm going to add now, okay, salary with bonus. So suppose I'm saying, okay, salary is 10 lakh and 1 lakh is bonus, suppose. So this is a scenario which I'm talking about here. So when we say salary with bonus, it should give me 11 as the return value. Click on salary as bonus, open this one and just see the value. So input is 10 and bonus is 1. So my output become 11. So what happened at runtime, this has called the library function, and that has added two values, returned the value back, and that we have got it here. So same way you want to do it here. So 12 lakh is salary, 2 lakh is deduction. Just click on this one. This should give you 10 as a result. You can see this is how it is working. So this is how library can be used. Okay, so this is how you can use. So now next thing is about using and for keyword. Now there is another option which you can use here, which is like you can use using. I'm going to use this math function for unsigned integers. So what happened here, what you can do with this one now, all these functions are assigned to this unsigned integer, this data type. Now you can see do one thing, your salary is an unsigned integer. You can access this functionality, add, and you can pass this bonus here. Okay, and same way you can do it here. You can just say salary deduction, salary dot subtract, subtract, you will pass the deduction here. So this is how it can be used. Now let's go ahead and deploy this salary again, because math is already deployed, so will not go. So this should show the same value here. If I just add the bonus here, 12, 2, it should show 14. If you just go down here, okay, it is showing 14 value here, so that means it is working fine also. Now go with the another one, 14 minus 2, it should give me 12 as return. So this is giving me 12 as a return value here. So this is all working fine. So now what happened that in case you want to change this value as this to unsigned 8 here, this will not work, because this is specifically asking for unsigned integer only, not unsigned 8 or 256 something. You have to use an unsigned integer only. One more thing which you can do, if you want to apply this math function for all data type, you can pass star here. Then in case you have a string value as well, then these functions are also be accessible for the data type as well. So this is as per your requirement. If you have a requirement, you can, I don't recommend to go for star. This is applicable for all, but you just go for which you require, either unsigned integer or string. So this is how libraries can be used inside the Solidity, and there are two options which we have spoke. I'm hopeful that you like this video and you have learned about these libraries and how we can use this one in the Solidity. Thanks for watching.